you want us to stand or sit or? Yeah.
You can sit, stand, do cartwheels.
Hang on, it's saying my internet connection's
Okay. So I met Ron and the Studio 301 guys at Adelaide at the National Conference in 2016. And in October 2016, they came and did a brief presentation here for the last Unconference that I ran, Collaborate. And then Connie and I went and actually visited their studios and was blown away, so much that I wrote a paper which was in Insight about the similarities between music studios and libraries, which did not appear to me to be anywhere close to obvious before I went there. Since then, Connie and I went back and saw their new studio under construction.
Well, you went on your own, wasn't it?
No, you were there for that one. And then we went back, I went back on my own to visit the brand spanking new studio, which is just the best. Anyway, and it is top 5 in the world. Anyway, over to Ron and Owen and Steve.
Awesome. We didn't come and prepare a big presentation for you guys. I mean, we basically thought we'd come and just present and tell you a little bit about who we are, what we do, and how we can engage, and where we kind of sit in the market. I suppose I'll preface this by just asking everyone: does anyone know who Studios 301 is in this room? Couple.
How could you not?
That's all right. Well, it's interesting. I'm kind of interested to know because, I mean, this is one of the things that we face, obviously, when we're trying to engage with yourself and people that have any type of magnetic media. So basically, Studios 301, we are a 90-plus-year-old business. We are arguably the longest-running recording studio in the world. We wrestle with Abbey Road for that title. The difference being that Abbey Road have moved. The difference between us, we've moved 4 times, and Abbey Road have stayed still, and we don't have the Beatles. So that's the main thing. I mean, the thing that makes Abbey Road such a big famous studio is obviously their clients, the fact they haven't moved, but they've also got a very big pop band to leverage off. We're of the same vintage. We both come from the similar background with EMI as well. So in Australia, we started off as Columbia Graphophone in 1926. Then EMI, they merged with EMI. EMI bought Columbia Graphophone out, and they moved the facilities into 301 Castlereagh Street, which is just around the corner. In 1999, we moved the facility through to Mitchell Road, Alexandria. And then recently, unfortunately, our building was sold to developers in Alexandria, and that got demolished, and we just opened doors in February with a brand spanking new facility in Ellis Avenue on the other side of Alexandria. So this is like I said, this is our 4th move. With this current studio, it's basically the largest commercial recording studio, largest commercial recording studio construction in the world at the moment. It's a $7 million it was a $7 million construction project. All up, the facility is probably worth about $12 million. And in a climate where where large format studios around the world are closing doors, we've gone the other way. Luckily enough to our owner Tom, and built a massive large format studio. So when I say large format studio, what I'm talking about is it's a multifaceted business. We have recording studios is our bread and butter. We also have mastering, which is the mastering side of the business, and then which leads us on to the digitisation, archiving, and transfer side of our business as well, which is still a huge part. Mainly because we've been around for 90 years, and we were on the forefront of pioneering every type of audio So I mean, we've still got machines, we've still got staff that have pioneered all that. So I'll introduce myself. My name is Ron. I'm the general manager of Studios 301. I've been with the company for about 3 years. Owen is one of our on-staff engineers and operators. So he not only on the engineering side, he's one of the main members of our digitisation team as well. So oversees all that. And Stephen Crane is our technical director, who's been with the business for over 30 years and had probably played a big part in pioneering lots of the machines and formats and everything in the last
30 years, and it doesn't take a second look to see that I'm the staff member most in need of preservation, I think.
So I mean, so our business is multifaceted. From the outside, we deal in the really boring music industry and have to deal with artists and rock stars. But we wanted to come and talk about all the sexy side of the business today, which is digitisation. But it's a varied thing. I think, like I said, from the outside, people think recording studios. We've got studios in our name, so no one really identifies us with the preservation side, the fact that we do format mitigation, the fact that we do digitisation, and the fact that we have amazing, enormous capabilities to be able to assist. We're still and always have sat on the music industry side, so we still do digitisation for a lot of the large labels, a lot of the heritage acts, as far as, if you can imagine, all of the I won't really say client-wise, but a lot of the things that were recorded 20, 30 years ago weren't recorded digitally. So we have to deal with tapes, with DATs, with all types of crazy formats. I mean, one of our clients recently came through and dropped off 300 tapes, and we will get a box and just go, here's a box. Try to figure it out. Try to can you catalogue that for us? Can you make sure that can you give us an assessment of what shape it's in? Does it need baking? Does it need any remedial works? And then lastly, can you actually digitize it? Do you have all of the formats? Do you have the machines up and running? And that's just on the music industry side. Obviously, we deal with a lot of libraries and a lot of people locally that do the same. That say, oh, we've got a collection in house that's audio, that's magnetic tape. Can you come and have a look at it? We have an idea about what it is, but I'll send the team out and we'll go out and check it out. Yep.
Did you just say the wet baking?
Yes.
What does that mean?
Good question. I will hand over to one of these guys who will be able to tell it.
I'll explain. Sure. So one of the problems that we have with a lot of these analog formats, as such, when I say analog, like they're sort of tangible things you can hold, is they're made of these materials that degrade over time. A lot of the tapes, the way they're created is you've got this big bit of plastic, and then there's a big bit of glue, and then all this metallic material placed. That's rust. essentially rust stuck to this bit of plastic. But over time, you've got the glue, and all the moisture gets into the glue. And so with that moisture getting into the glue, things become really sticky. And when you've got a piece of tape that's wrapped around another piece of tape, instead of the metal sticking to the piece of plastic on the side that you want it to be stuck to, you can start getting stuck to the opposite piece that's against it. And so with all that moisture in there, if you try and play the tape, all that metal comes off and you lose all your information. So what we'd have is we've got these scientific ovens at the studio where you put the tapes in the machine, you literally bake them. So we've got temperature settings for the types of tapes and lengths of time, just like you would with a recipe for a cake kind of thing. And that dries out that glue. And it means that because it's less sticky when you actually go to play it, doesn't all come apart and you can actually get the data off. So it's about preserving the initial format and turning it into something playable, which is, I guess, sort of leads us into
Well, I think that, I think,
like we bake them at 48 degrees, typically 48 hours, is that, Jim?
So what's the success rate with that? Do all the tapes come good at the end of that process, or is there a percentage that don't work?
there is a percentage that don't work. I mean, some of them do come good. I mean, the biggest problem that we have with tapes, or as you can imagine, not everything is stored in an ideal temperature, an ideal situation. What's the ideal way that tape should be stored?
Oh, it's about 20 to 40 degrees centigrade and about 20 to 40% RH as well.
So if you can imagine, every
Temperature
bit of
is comfortable for us as humans, but a little bit dry is the ideal. And the Sydney environment's terrible.
It's getting worse too, it's getting more humid.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'd say that probably in terms of the baking procedure, we pretty much have 100% pass rate with baking, but there are other problems that relate to the tape pack, the stiffness, the type of plastics that the backings have, given the age of the tape. As you know, tape goes back to, the 30s, when it was a reel of wire that had to be encaged in a cage because if the tape broke, to kill you. Thankfully, we haven't lost any staff members to that format yet. But all of the plastics, all the different plastic backings have their own treatment issues. But the big one is baking.
Do you have to wash them first?
We have washed some. If we've had massive bacterial contamination, we've washed them with chlorine, but we don't do it in wash them with a light chlorine-based water solution. But we haven't done that in a very long time because we went and bought the ovens, basically.
Steve, do you want to tell them about that really nasty tape that we had?
Oh, the nastiest we've had, yeah. The nastiest that we've had is when a septic tank overflowed into a tape storage room on the Isle of Capri. And shortly after Michael Hutchins died, we found that this was one of the last tapes of him singing that was releasable. It was called Screen Sound for a while then, but the Film and Sound Archives took that on in Canberra, and it spent 6 weeks in a temperature-controlled oven because the Curie point of the tape, which is when you lose the magnetism, was only 5 degrees higher than the temperature that was required to kill the bacteria. So it had to be it was kept at 3 degrees below the Curie point for 6 weeks. It took 2 weeks to get there, 6 weeks total, 2 weeks to get there, 2 weeks in the oven, and 2 weeks back to ambient temperature, and it was perfect. It was perfect. The song was the step. Sorry.
Oh,
The smell? You said septic tanks.
yeah.
Initially there
great.
was. Initially it was a bit dank. Yeah, and it was the In Excess guys singing the Steppenwolf song, "Born to Be Wild." Yeah, which is it was really worth the trouble. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's our worst one.
Yeah, I've had quite a few similar ones.
Yeah, from the same
same archive,
from the
actually,
Capri
yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
It's the kind of thing where once you bake it, you've got the bacteria on there, but to actually get it off, you run the tape through the machine and all the bacteria flies off everywhere, so you've got a mask over and gloves and all kinds of stuff so you don't get sick. So,
That brings me to a point that the biggest, I suppose, issue that we face with a lot of tapes, and I mean, like, this is probably what for a big part of the 2025 deadline that they've talked about is that not necessarily in regards to archiving that the tapes will be out, that the tapes and all magnetic media will be redundant. It's just that the actual process of digitizing these tapes and going through all of that sort of stuff, it damages the machines. If we've got tapes that are in a bad shape or in a bad way, and they're not dealt with correctly beforehand, either cleaned or baked, or if they're still sticky and all that sort of stuff, they can completely come through and blow out the heads of the machines. They can damage the machines past the point of ever being able to be used. So
We've had one recently.
Yeah, I can think of a tape I digitized recently where the backing itself was the thing that was coming apart. So the backing had like a carbon-based substance to it, so all the carbon was coming off, and so that was coming off onto the actual front side of the tape where the magnetic material was, and it was like a Jimmy Barnes live concert. It was the only copy that they had, and I had to digitize 2 of those tapes that were falling apart, and I had to sit there with basically these special wipes and hold them against the front edge of the tape and constantly be cleaning the tape as the whole entire 2-hour concert went through. Because as the as the basically as the carbon builds up on the heads of the machine, you lose your actual information coming off, but also it just damages the heads of the machine as well. So you get little pits in the actual on the heads of the machine. So you have to sit there cleaning the tape as it runs through in real time, holding your hand there for hours at a time. And that's a tape of a person that everyone here's heard of. And you'd expect that someone like that would have their archives looked after well. But when you're in an industry where, to be honest, not many people pay for music anymore, and there's not as much money around, it's harder for people to keep these things stored well. So,
I mean, we're coming up against the same problems and the same issues that that libraries and other organisations are facing as well. I mean, a lot of the magnetic media that you guys have, I'm sure, haven't been sitting in ideal scenarios or holdings, and the same with the music industry. I mean, a lot of the people that are coming to us now. I mean, if we don't get to it now, on the music industry side, if we don't get to their tapes now, I mean, they may not be able to be digitized. I mean, but as far as, do you guys have any questions?
Yeah, a couple. The one is, how does someone get trained in what you do? Like, is there a course? How did you learn to do what you do? How did you learn to do this?
I learned on the job.
Yeah, like, is there any formal sort of way someone can learn to do these skills?
Not as far as I'm aware.
There might be in other territories where the market's bigger. I mean, like you've got, the Library of Congress, and you've got
Europe is probably.
There probably are courses you can do there, but I don't know of any here.
No, I wouldn't.
And
it's hard to find people who are naturally good at.
But the film and sound archives are fantastic, and they've got a lot of experience. I mean, they're a lot younger than us. We're only, we're 90 years old, and they're probably 40 or 50. But they've got a lot of specialists there, and they're fantastic. I mean, as an industry support, they won't hesitate to give anybody advice. We've had a lot of interaction with them over the years, and they like the libraries, have international connections with the major broadcasting, the national broadcasters around the world, and national conservation groups around the world. So, for advice, you'd be welcome to call us or call them. We take a lot of calls for advice, and we're happy to.
And do you find it difficult to recruit people? If you do, where to need to increase your team? I think this is what Connie is maybe asking.
I think it's an ongoing conversation that I've actually been talking to Connie and Rob about in the last couple of years. Especially, I know Rob and I have talked about it. The simple answer is yes. We have engineer. I mean, being one of the only large format studios in Australia, we have, to be honest, we have engineers as far as people wanting to work for us, and people, a lot of audio engineers coming out of the schools that want to work for us, that want to engage and be a part of our organisation as a whole. The problem that we have with the digitisation and the archiving stuff is, I mean, every kid wants to be a rock star and produce and work with artists and do all that sort of thing. What I'm finding and what I've found in the last 3 years, there's only, people with a keen interest in specifically, dealing with tapes, doing transfers, archiving. I mean, that's the people that come to us. That's not what they want to get into. They want to be able to run their music through tape because they want to sound like Alicia Keys, or they want it to sound like, old rock and roll. But they're not definitely coming and going, this is definitely something that I want to do. In saying that, we do have a lot of skilled operators that can do digitization in-house. But what
cataloging as well.
And
that's what,
Well, the reason, which is one of the reasons why we're here as well. I mean, because we sit in our little niche, and essentially where we sit in our music cave and don't come out. I mean, we all do very long hours. We all do sometimes 10, 12-hour days. And where we're in the walls, we don't, this forum in itself is a chance for us to engage, to see how we can actually find those people.
Well, if you look at, say, a totally different thing, but data librarians, it's a fairly new, industry and it's a little higher demand. Like CSIRO hiring a lot of data librarians, researchers produce a lot of information and data, and then they're like, oh, you deal with how it's stored, where, how we can receive it, how we can catalogue it and whatever. Like, if it's a data librarians to be custodians of it, to look after it. So, I don't know, I'm thinking that there'd be a similar thing with what you're doing. Like, you need someone to help curate what you do.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't understand a lot of the media that we're trying to digitize first of all. Like, I know people, I think a lot of you might refer to it as new media, possibly. I know my conservation friends refer to it in that sense. And I don't think they understand that these things are falling apart really quickly and they're dying very quickly. And so there isn't as much.
Caretakers, like, so knowing how to.
Yeah, and so the actual process of doing it is not refined. Like, it's very open.
Yes.
And so we end up having to work with a lot of what specific people want. So the state library have a certain format that they want things in, but then a record label might have something different, and another library might have something different.
If the processes are damaging your machines,
Yep.
is it an unsustainable thing? Is it sort of there's a window now or never?
Yeah,
no, definitely.
Yeah,
They're not building more machines like that, are they?
yeah. I think there's one company that just released a new tape machine.
They've been promising
And
to
they've been-
for some time.
No, I think they actually put it out.
They've actually seen one.
Yeah, there's actually a real one. Yeah,
Well,
but yeah, that's the thing. So there's that 2025 deadline where, like, our machines, like, they are running out of life.
Particularly the domestic style machines like cassette
Yeah.
machines. There's a lot of plastic in them. The plastic's declining. The parts aren't in, spare parts aren't being made. We're maintaining them by cannibalising other machines.
Or 3D printing new parts.
Yeah, we've done a little bit of that, but and when we take on a large project, we will try and have double the number of machines we think and hold in stock that we think are required to get through the contract. And usually getting towards the end of the contract, we're hopefully just getting through, because just the wear and tear is difficult to keep up with, and the spare parts are that's unobtainium now for a lot of that equipment. So the industrial equipment that comes, like from where we come from, which is the music recording equipment, the top end industrial grade equipment is still quite serviceable. But the formats that you would call it, the domestic formats, that stuff really hasn't got a lot of life left in it unless someone comes up and builds some new ones, of which there are some, but certainly it's declining. And that's where the 2025 deadline comes from, I think.
And I think the hardest thing that we're finding, especially with a lot of government organisations and a lot of organisations that rely on funding, is that unfortunately audio seems to be the last format that people think about. I mean, we'll often get requests for tenders come through 3 months before financial year. I mean, I'm sure everyone looks at stuff that's paper, pictures, video. It's all very tangible. It's things that you can see. But audio, unfortunately, because you can't actually see it, seems to be the last format that gets funding, which puts a lot of unnecessary strain on everyone involved. I know, even dealing with project managers on the government side, I know that they're pulling their hair out in regards to that. But whereas they could. Which brings me back to, I suppose, us being here. I mean, we really want to be part of the conversation and part of the planning, rather than just an agency that somebody deems as part of the solution. As far as our expertise in all of the areas of audio, I mean, we are a 90-year-old plus business that only specializes in audio and every one of these audio formats.
And we were doing this when I joined the company 32 years ago now.
Yeah.
But of course it was just music. So the reason we're coming to these conferences now is because we're trying to not get away from the music, of course, but most of the libraries and collections and things wouldn't have been aware that we were doing this. We've been doing this work for a very long time, and we're trying to expand that into other collections and other areas. So.
But also finding out from you what needs to happen.
Yeah, we have to adapt.
Yeah, we have to. But it's like, as you were saying before about collecting metadata and all that kind of stuff. It's like we're working with music industry knowledge, but we want to find out what other people have and learn from that too.
Yeah.
So.
I'm trying to speculate about the general understanding of file size and library management systems being able to actually, show, if you like, or let you listen to the audio file. I think we've all understood pixels, and we've all understood that very large images require much more storage if they have lots of pixelation. We don't, I think, have the same understanding with audio. So maybe that's the reason why we are in a comfort zone with image, but we are not in a comfort zone with an audio file. And I think some of the large management systems weren't able to actually let you play it within the system. So maybe there's, that is why it's a bit left on the side.
Yeah, I think it's easier to display images than it is to play that audio.
Yeah, audio is about, stereo audio is, in round figures, it's about a gigabyte an hour. In round figures.
But it can be converted to other formats that can be playable via the web that are lower quality, and you can use that as just your, original archive media or medium, and then this is the thing, is like when you've got it on a cassette or you've got it on a reel-to-reel or something like that, like it's kind of stuck there, especially if you don't have the machine to play it.
Yes.
But if you can convert it to that full resolution digital format that Steve said, you can then go on and convert it to something that you can easily just click play on the website. Like I think about, like, I don't know if there's anyone from the NFSA here, but they've got a really great YouTube channel where they put up videos in a format that someone can just click play on. Like it's just a consumer streaming format. So you can, like, they've obviously got the full res version somewhere in their archive, but you can then use that to just go, cool, here's an interview with someone from Redfern growing up near the railway workshops, play, and they can talk about, you can actually hear that thing over the web, but still have your usable full res version stored somewhere else. So you don't have to have that constantly in people's faces, ready to go.
What about copyright? Is that addressed at all, or like, because you're format shifting, aren't you? You're putting into a different media. When we do that, we have to look at copyright. Like, are we allowed to do this?
There's no problem with copyright.
We act as just a service for that. We have had issues where the ownership. No, we have had some issues where one particular one that turned up for me a long time ago is that the ownership was in contention.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So what we had to do is we had to get a contract drawn up between the three parties. We actually we know the names, so obviously can't. That's confidential, and they all had to agree that physically I would return it to the person that gave it to me, irrespective. And that took quite a while to negotiate between them because they weren't getting on so well.
Question from Twitter.
Yes.
Do you do oral transcription in-house or mostly just digitisation focused? What does the workflow look like?
Transcription, we outsource that because, to be honest, we don't have the resources to do the transcription ourselves. But we're so busy doing the actual digitisation part that we need help. Like, we need other people to help us with that.
We're not good at typing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, totally. I think for us in regards to audio, I mean, the digitisation conversation is really the icebreaker to be engaging with libraries and other organisations about audio and about formats. I mean, yes, we do deal with digitising media, do format mitigation, restoration, but we record a lot of oral histories. But also because we have to be on the forefront of technology all the time. I mean, we could be part of solutions and education pieces for organisations, but also lending out resources as far as engineering, helping people set up, recording, or the whole audio piece. So it's always great to come to these things and talk further. I mean, I know Robert and I always sit down and talk at length about ways we could be engaging. But for me, starting with the digitisation conversation, because because the 2025 deadline is looming, and it is so real. I mean, that's an immediate, okay guys, we sit on this side, but anything in regards to audio and any questions, we'd love to have a chat with everyone about what they've got going on, whether they need assistance. I mean, we do everything in-house, but we also send a lot of our resources out to some organisations to help them with, you know, either set up what they've got going on, or, you know, or facilitate it for them. So I mean, there's lots of stuff that we could be collaborating on, not just looking back, but also looking forward.
We also do events.
And events.
We're in our new facility. We're also inviting people to come and house events.
Yeah, I mean, Stephen.
Azra Conference.
Stephen and I went down to the Azra Conference at Canberra last year. We're actually sponsoring the Azra Conference this year and holding it at our brand new studios, because we were actually decked out as an event space. So things like this could easily be facilitated at our facility. Hint, hint. Plug. But that's the thing. I mean, the writing on the wall for us is that we don't want to just be the last call and the last line of defense in regards to collections and things like that. We actually have the resources to be part of the conversation and part of the front end solution. And even further than that, I mean, I suppose speaking with us and our team, it's, you know, we're at the forefront of audio. You know, we literally are the newest and largest recording facility in the Southern Hemisphere, if not the newest in the world. I mean, we're easily head and shoulders above anything that Australia has ever built in the last 90 years. I mean, it's a $12 million facility. Acoustically, there is nothing that comes close to us. And team-wise as well, I really pride myself in trying to make sure that we have the best resources possible. I mean, Stephen Crane is pretty much a one of a kind in the world in regards to design and tech abilities. You know, he's been flying around the world to work for various companies and has played a big part in designing.
George
lots of.
Been an old pal of yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A boss.
Yeah, boss.
But I mean, we're not making it so casual, but I mean, we're the standard when it comes to anything audio.
I used to do most of the digitisation myself, and I've pretty much handed it over to Owen. I would say it's in good hands.
But I will say as well, we don't just digitize audio; we can also restore it as well.
Yeah. So
I think that's something that I think we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Digitizing it, but once we have a copy of it, we can, you know, help bring out the speech so you can understand it better. We can make it a bit more intelligible, that kind of stuff, and we can chop it up and do whatever you need. I know a lot of the time it's like, just make a copy of the thing, don't modify it. You know, that's a big thing we hear a lot from libraries. But it's probably actually more useful to you if we can restore it a bit more or make it, you know, more listenable. So
were recorded back in the 70s and the 80s.
Yeah.
They're going to be a bit dirty anyway.
Yeah, that's something I've come across a lot, where you're sitting there digitizing a tape and it's just really harsh and brittle and it hurts to kind of listen to, even though you've got the volume down low. But then you send it off and you expect other people to enjoy that. Like, it's not going to be easy for them. But we can help make that more listenable for people as well.
I find that's the biggest difference between our large format projects that we take on from government organisations and private projects, is that all the private projects, they want to actually be able to enhance the audio as well. I mean, so sometimes we get caught out when we just treat it like okay, cool, we're used to doing this, we've done this for the State Library, we can just run it through there, and like, no, we want to be able to hear it properly as well.
Yeah, like I've got a cassette to do on Tuesday that's a client of ours who it's the only copy of this piano music that she made when she was 12. But there's, 14 different pieces on there. So she wants me to not only digitize the tape, but also edit up all the different tracks, restore the audio on them all, essentially make it releasable again so that they can put it out on digital or CD or whatever that format is. So there's lots of different angles you can kind of come at.
Yes, and I suppose you got to think as well, if we can make upcoming singers and artists sound like Delta Goodrem or like Justin Bieber's, then I mean, getting speech and all that sort of stuff up and trying to deal with the stuff that you guys might have is really a walk in the park for us. I feel like I took over a bit too much. I feel like you guys
No.
speak a bit more. I mean, really here, as far as me leading the team at 301, I mean, I feel the enormous weight that that leading a 90-year-old plus business and managing such a large key studio in the scheme of things. I feel that every day, and for me to make sure that we're present at and talking to as many people as possible and kind of being part of conversations is a big part of what I do. I mean, the only way that I feel like as a whole I can make the studio a success, and the way I look at the business in general is that of collaboration. I mean, you need to be talking to people that do things better than what you do. I mean, I'm going out and establishing a whole bunch of partners to really do big things this year. But everything from video capabilities to event capabilities to everyone really. So I mean, we want to make sure that for the music industry we're the center, because physically we're the center of the music industry. But that in action, I need to make sure that that's happening. So and that unfortunately isn't something that I can turn on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook. No matter how much money I throw at a digital agency, they're not going to achieve. Not going to help me to achieve that. That's literally one conversation at a time.
I think it's hard as well. Like even just like you're saying, we're the best studio in town, but it's hard for us to even engage that with the music industry, and that's who we work with all the time. So coming to things like this, it's like letting you know that hey, we do exist, and we'd like to learn from you as well as kind of tell you what we do. Like it's hard in that.
And as Stephen and I, when we went down to ASRO and presented, we're looking for people to be part of our organisation as well. I mean, we speak music industry speak. We talk about things on the level of okay, cool, we can digitize, we can restore audio, we can do this. But I mean, we're not librarians. We're not in the space that you guys are. And
none of us have done a library course.
I'm like, I would love someone from any of your worlds to be knocking on my door saying, how can we collaborate? How can I be a part of this bigger puzzle? How can I like you were saying before, how can I learn how to digitize and be part of this? Because they're the people that I would love to have, like I said, part of the bigger picture for me.
Well, it's the library industry is not just the library industry. It's we're information specialists. And we can go into any industry and help and collaborate. That's where we're trying to really market ourselves at, rather than just being about books or about whatever. It could be any material, whether it's audio or whatever. But I think we have a place or a space in that as well, where we can help curate.
Definitely.
We're not the experts in a particular thing, but we know how to help you get things automated and there's a system and its way of wanting things.
Exactly.
Providing access.
I think for us as well, because we're based on.
Can I just say, I noticed you had an open day on the 5th of May.
Yep.
Maybe an open day targeting the glam sector at some point.
Absolutely.
Let's make it happen. Let's totally make it happen. I mean, this is, if one thing that I'll take away from today is that suggestion, and I would say let's make it happen, because I mean, the thing that people don't realize about us, which differs greatly from I suppose where you guys sit, is that we're a 90-year-old business. We have this big exterior shell of something that's got a crazy hierarchy that could be stuck in any kind of bureaucracy, but we're a really small business. There's there's 4 people in our management team, including Stephen, and outside of Stephen and I mean I've got I sit as general manager. I've got a mastering and tenancy department manager. I've got a studio bookings department manager, and Stephen is a technical director, and that's our business. We are super agile in regards to what we want to do, and like I said, because it is one conversation at a time, because it's literally us going out to other organisations saying, we have this tremendous and amazing team that we can be part of something with. But if we want to make it happen, there's nothing that's really stopping us. It's in regards to an open day for the glam sector. let's just pick a date and do it. Like it's not any harder than that. And I mean that's in regards to solutions and conversations that we can be having. It's literally that easy.
I'm on it, don't worry.
And anyone's welcome to drop by anyway.
Yeah, I mean,
of course, yeah.
I'll leave our contact details here, and if anyone has any questions, or if anyone wants to come visit the studios at any point, or even if anything at all, feel free to reach out. I said the same to Rob nearly 3 years ago now at Adelaide over dinner, where we both had a bit too much to drink, and you know what we and no, it never happened. And you know now we're here, and we've caught up. We've done podcasts together, and we presented here at the last Unconference, and Rob's written a paper on us, and we're still looking at ways to collaborate. And I would love to have that relationship with anyone that's open for anyone that wants to have that. So.
And I'd like to say hi to the person in New York that's watching us. I mean, it's 10:30 on a Saturday night. Yeah, I know it's a lot more expensive to come and visit us from there, but you're welcome.
His name's Chris.
Chris.
What's up, Chris? But yeah, and you know what? And just like everyone, I mean, where we completely have the blinkers on when we're in our little I said little, but when we're in our studio, on what's in front of us.
Literally no windows, so. Yeah.
So you know, I understand that everyone is really focused on tasks at hand, but yeah, I always make sure. I mean, I think I'm pretty lucky in that aspect as far as sitting where I sit to actually be able to make time to go and network and make time to go and speak to people, and you know, because that is part of my job. That is trying to make sure that we're part of the community. So. But yeah, like I'll say it again if I haven't rammed home the fact that, like, please do hit us up or come visit, or feel free to ask us questions, because yeah, we're kind of quietly as excited to talk about what we do as you guys probably would about what you do as well. So.
And if for nothing else, going and having a look at the studio, it's just amazing. Just walking around and seeing the studio and seeing what it looks like, and get the feel of the place is just unreal. So there is another Unconference thing happening at the end of the year, well, probably end of August, which will involve a visit to the studios, but feel free to go before then as well. But I'll talk about that later on in the day. But I am planning something, so there is something in the works. So please thank Ron and the team, and Chris. And yeah, chat them up.
Yeah.